Welcome to the Exceptional Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Anita Brooks, and here you'll find teaching topics, interviews, conversations, and coaching tips, all designed to help you level up. We all lead someone. The question is, are we leading well, exceptionally well? So join me on a quest, not for perfection, but absolutely for exceptional leadership. Okay, we have covered the popular and the powerful personalities in our last session in depth. So today we're going to dig into the perfect and peaceful introverted personalities and talk about some of the details that are so important for this group. So the perfect personalities are introverted, they're tactical by nature, they're project focused, and like in their clothing choices, they usually gravitate toward more earth tones, so browns, deep greens, and blues, those nature colors. Adjectives for a perfect personality are considerate, sensitive, planner, loyal, thoughtful, deep, and perfectionistic. And this deep thinking personality type, they pour themselves into details that help them master their craft. Making a character, or a project come alive is important to them, but for them, it's all about what are the specifics that can help make that happen. So if any of this resonates with you and you feel like you are probably a perfect personality, then let me affirm you. I just want to say that I deeply appreciate the detailed and thorough work that you do to make things happen. And look, I am extremely intentional because I am not a perfect personality. So I surround myself with those who are because I so appreciate your gifts. And I need the abilities that you have that you don't even think twice about, that for me, it takes so much energy to exert to even try to get half the results that you do. So just thank you for who you are. Well, let's talk about some of the strengths of the perfect personality. So they are creative, they are sensitive, they are planners, they're energized by serene settings and clean workplaces. They are effective behind the scenes. They are tactical thinkers. So the difference between a powerful strategic, where they're thinking visionary, big picture, final results, a tactical thinker, perfect personality is thinking about how do we get those results? What are the steps necessary along the way? What do we need to make sure that we don't lose sight of? What are those details that play a role in this? So you can see how you really need the marriage of both of those to get your best outcomes. Perfect personalities are also natural project finishers, and they value quality and sensitivity. They do value quiet as well. But they value quality. It's very important for them that we don't rush through things and not do things to the best of our ability. And so you can see how a powerful and a perfect can conflict with each other, because a powerful is about getting things accomplished as well, but it's about doing them fast because, again, they have that long to-do list. But the perfect personality, it's about making sure that we do things well. They're done properly. They're done right. And the perfect personality also is thoughtful, and they are orderly. Now, some natural weaknesses for the perfect personality are this. They can be withdrawn. They can be skeptical. They can come across as having a sullen demeanor that turns other people off. They can be doomsday thinking, and so like it's always a never and things like that. And sometimes they tell themselves that things like this only happen to me, when in fact that's not entirely true. But sometimes they listen to those types of thoughts. They can be overly cynical and critical of other people and ideas, especially if they're not their own. They can be very unyielding to change, and they can make cutting remarks. Another thing about a perfect personality is oftentimes they speak in a monotone, very low emotion level. And so that can make other people feel as if a perfect personality doesn't care, as if they are emotionally cold, or as if they are disengaged. So that's something for perfect personalities to watch for. Reminders for perfect personalities. Don't make it your mission to correct everyone else's wrongs. One, I hate to tell you, you're not always right. But even when you are, if you are a chronic corrector, which comes across, by the way, as being a chronic complainer and chronically arrogant, that turns people off and you aren't going to get good results. And you may tell yourself that you don't need other people, but I'm going to promise you, especially in a professional or workplace setting, you are going to need other people at times. And very likely, the same is going to hold true in your personal life with family and friends. So you do want to be careful. You may not think so in this moment that you need somebody else. But what happens when the moment comes and you do? If you've turned everybody off and you turn them away, then, and it's always about you being a right fighter and you've got to be right, then it's not going to turn out well for you. And I don't want that to happen. So just be very careful and work hard to be considerate of other people's thoughts, their opinions, and maybe even their research and their education. And if they bring ideas, look at them with an open mind. But just keep those things in mind, because remember that how you project yourself, especially in response to other people, it can determine then how in turn they respond to you. Something else for perfect personalities is remember that we cannot always finish what we're working on before another project needs our attention. I know. I have talked to so many perfect personalities who tell me it is like a fingernail on the chalkboard when someone interrupts them while they're focused on a project and says, I need to pull you off and have you work on this. Or God forbid that they want you to multitask. But every once in a while, it can't be helped. So give people a little grace when it happens. And again, just do your best to go along. And remember, you can always come back to something you haven't completed. You can finish it later on. I understand it's not the ideal, but sometimes it's the best way to get things done. Don't close yourself off from learning from other people or allow cynicism to hamper your work with them. Again, if you do that, ultimately, I really believe in what I have observed, what I've experienced, you're going to be the one that's going to pay the highest price for that. And remember this, perfect personalities, it's okay to give someone a compliment. They actually perform better with encouragement versus criticism. And as much as sometimes a powerful personality may struggle to give compliments, a perfect personality will struggle with that even more. They are naturally focused on what's wrong with things versus what's right with things. This is one of those areas they have to practice. They have to work on to be able to even see positivity. Yes, many who are perfect personalities will tell me, I'm just a realist. I'm not negative. And I don't completely disagree with that. But be careful that your realism doesn't become so off-putting that it does no one any good. I mean, how can you help make the world a better place? How can you do things effectively at a quality level? Well, if you're turning people off everywhere you turn. That's not doing things well. That's not doing things optimally. So make sure that you really exercise and practice. I know it's going to be hard in the beginning. I promise it gets easier the more that you do it. But practice giving compliments to people and not just always telling them what's wrong. Oftentimes, tell them also what's right. And don't think that you are the only one who has the right answers. Some challenges for perfect personalities. Again, I've already mentioned skeptical, cynical, and pessimistic by nature. A perfect personality's natural voice is measured and monotone. So it does give that sense that you can be emotionally cold or disengaged. And this can cause issues of misinterpretation when interacting with others personally or professionally, because people will perceive you as uninterested or uncaring. And again, that's not going to get you very far. A perfect personality can struggle to take action. Sometimes they tend to overanalyze, or as some accuse, be obsessive compulsive, which can create paranoia about making mistakes. But this slow down to progress, it can keep you from hitting the start button. One of the best things that a perfect personality can practice is appropriately. So I'm making sure I put this caveat. I'm not telling you that you just slap things together or start becoming sloppy. But I'm saying when it's appropriate, when you really have exhausted all effort and time to try to make something the best it can be, sometimes you have to say to yourself, it's good and it's enough. And so I need to just put it out there in the world, or I need to take action, but I need to not let perfectionism keep me paralyzed. So that, yes, I've done great research. Yes, I've analyzed. Yes, I've planned. Yes, I'm organized. But none of it does any good because you're not willing to release it into the world. As a perfect personality, sometimes they can feel frustrated or angry when others do not show the same level of sensitivity, understanding, and compassion that they offer. So many times a perfect personality will be respectful and they will be mindful of others, but then they don't feel they get that same respect and mindfulness in return. Give folks some grace. Remember, we all have our own blind spots for our personalities. Every characteristic has them. So remember that as much as you are challenged and you get frustrated at some other people's blind spots when it comes to sensitivity and compassion and understanding, remember that you have your own blind spots as well. So lean into a little bit of grace when it comes to that. Of all the personalities, the perfect is the most prone to depression. Because when things don't go right, and how many of us have ever had the perfect day where everything went right, you did everything right, other people did things right, there was no unexpected or unforeseen event that threw a wrench in the ringer. How many of us have ever had that day? I know I haven't. So when you are a personality type, and the lens in which you look through life is whether or not things go right, and then they don't, it can throw you into an emotional spiral. So combating depression is one of the big challenges for any perfect personality. One of my best pieces of advice for that is to be intentional to focus on gratitude. I think it's great for any personality type, and I think we all should do it. This is something I practice on the daily myself and have been for years. It was life-changing for me. But especially for perfect personalities, instead of focusing all the things that you see wrong with situations, focus on the areas where you can be grateful. And I promise you, it can help you feel happier. You will project more optimism and you will feel more approachable to other people instead of you just being depressed all the time and feeling like, what's the point? I may as well give up. Things never go right. And letting that happen to you. don't get me wrong. I am not saying that there are not chemical imbalances. I am not saying that there are not times that any of us, regardless of personality, don't need medical support to help our brain chemistry. We all do. I have been in that state. But I am saying that there are some things that we can do along the way to help consistently combat the effects of depression. And especially if you are a perfect personality, that's something that I would encourage you to do. Some ways that perfects can overcome challenges is become intentional about entertaining the fact that the ideas of others are potentially viable and feasible. Do not shut down other people's ideas without full analysis, and always with a goal of acceptance and saying yes. See, sometimes we don't even stop and think, what is our goal? We have these subconscious goals. So for a perfect personality, a subconscious goal can be to poke holes in it, find the problems, identify the errors so they can be fixed and made right. But what we have to be careful of is sometimes how that comes across to other people and how we're treating other people. As a matter of fact, it can come across as downright rude and we're not even aware of it. We really just matter-of-factly think that we are contributing, that we are helping in this way. So we have to be cautious with that. Perfect personality can overcome the challenge of, giving other people the benefit of the doubt, making that your mission when you feel frustrated with someone else. I mean, I understand feeling frustrated is a challenge, especially when you feel like sometimes they're rushing through or they're not paying attention or they're not giving the right focus onto some of the important details. But when you do feel frustrated with someone else, ask yourself this question: have I ever done that or something similar to that? Have I ever made a mistake? Have I ever made a misjudgment? Have I ever missed an important piece of information when I thought I already had everything that I needed to make an informed decision? And the answer to that is probably yes. And don't beat yourself up about it, because you know what? You're human. It's okay to be human. But just remember that, and so give other people, again, some of that grace. Work on adding positive energy to your tone of voice when you're on the phone, when you're speaking to people in person, even in text messages, emails, or other written communication. When you add positivity, so for my perfect personalities, for most of them, I will always tell them when you're drafting an email, like write out everything you think you need to say. And then when you're done, go back to the beginning of it and add a single sentence like, how are you today? Some kind of warm tone. Hope things are going well. Hope you had a great weekend. But some of that warm human type of touch to it, just a single sentence. You don't have to go overboard. You don't have to exaggerate. It doesn't have to be long-winded, but something that just shows that you are relating human to human can make all the difference. It can also increase cooperation and peace with other people. Another thing for perfect personalities, when you're struggling to let go so that some kind of action can be taken after you've done your research and analysis and you're planning, remind yourself that sometimes it is appropriate, and I said it before, I'm saying it again because it's that important that it needs to be re-emphasized. But sometimes it's appropriate to say to yourself, it's good and it's enough. Guard that self-talk. Really pay attention to what you're thinking that is driving your actions. Sometimes you've analyzed that thing to death already. And you know what? Doing it for the 38th time is not going to really improve the results. So it's good and it's enough. Let it go. Take action. Get it out in the world so it can actually make the difference that it can, that you want to make. And again, focus on gratitude and envisioning best case outcomes, a daily habit. Instead of concentrating on what went wrong or what could go wrong or what others did wrong, ponder what went right, what could go right, What problems have been avoided? What problems could be avoided? What issues other people could resolve? How they could overcome. But again, imagining intentional positivity instead of allowing your brain to just wallow in the doomsday kind of thinking can make a lot of difference for you, for your mental health, but also, again, in what you're able to accomplish with other people. But let's talk about some talents of the perfect personality. I love that perfect personality, they're curious, they're intelligent, and they're insightful by nature. A perfect personality's natural thirst for knowledge draws them to learn more and dig deeper into details that many of us miss, and we need to know. Often, perfect personalities catch and spotlight important factors. Their inner desire to ensure accuracy can save energy, time, and money by guiding precision the first time. You know that old saying, measure twice, cut once. Perfect personalities, you do that naturally, and we need you. We need that talent and that gift from you. So thank you for that. And your perfect sensitivity, it can help a perfect personality notice when others need emotional support, reassurance, or an understanding ear. You don't have to work so hard to being a good listener because you often naturally are. Use that ability to help other people. And of all the personalities, perfects often provide a voice of wisdom for others because they weigh facts, consider various angles, and recall important data that others can forget. Now, let's talk about some of the best job fits for the perfect personality. Again, these are general commonalities. There are more extensive lists, but in my work in the decades of being a certified personality trainer and working with thousands of people, these are the top ones that I see that are really great job fits for this personality type. So architects, bankers, bookkeepers, composers, dentists, financial planners, horticulturists, inventors, journalists, mechanics, photographers, pilots, scientists, and web designers or web developers. Those are, generally speaking, usually very good fits for the perfect personality. And again, every personality type has strengths and everyone has weaknesses. So we need what the perfect personality can contribute to the world. Okay, peaceful personalities. Peaceful personalities are also introverts. They're observant by nature. They are natural sponges. They're people-focused. And their color palettes that they're most drawn to tend to be whites, pale yellows, and soft greens. The adjectives that I would use, some of them to describe a peaceful personality is reserved, shy, patient, friendly, listener, balanced, and adaptable. The peaceful personality is the most chameleon-like, the most naturally adaptive personality out of all four. And so they listen, they watch and absorb, and they carefully time the use of their voice. So they make the accomplishments of others visible, and when they do that, it makes them feel purposeful. They love helping other people. And so if you are a peaceful personality, either your primary or your secondary, I want to affirm you and say this to you. Thank you for helping make the job and life easier. Thank you for the way that you help so many of us. It is deeply appreciated. So let's cover some strengths of the peaceful personality. They're empathetic and kind listeners. They're energized by calm environments, and they bring a calming influence. They have a soothing spirit. They are observant thinkers. I've already said they're natural chameleons, and they're relational by nature. It's just that it's more one-on-one for them. They value comfort and ease, and they are witty and orderly. I love, love, love a peaceful personality's sense of humor. They're the one, they'll sit there, they'll be quiet, and all of a sudden they'll just like pop out a zinger, and it just makes you laugh. Married to one of those guys, and we've been married for many, many years, and I will tell you that he still makes me laugh, and I just love his sense of humor. Let's talk about the peaceful weaknesses, though. Peacefuls are, out of all the 4 personality types, the most stubborn. I call them the silent rebel. They can be passive-aggressive when they're operating out of their weaknesses. They can be deceptive with their motives and their willingness to take action when they're working out of the weaknesses of their personality. They can procrastinate, and they become easily frustrated when pressured to take some kind of action. They can also be overly assumptive. They can assume that other people have various thoughts or motives or plans or just anything. And so they assume things and they project those assumptions on other people. And oftentimes they're not accurate. So sometimes they will withhold themselves because they've made these assumptions, and they really miss out on what could have been some great relationships. And the other thing about a peaceful personality, they avoid conflict to a fault. Like, a peaceful personality can create the very conflict they're trying to avoid. And they do that because sometimes they're trying to figure out what another person wants them to say, what they think they're supposed to say, and so they withhold the truth or honesty, or maybe don't fully say everything they know or everything they're thinking. And some personalities, their powerful opposites, can pick up on that, and that can cause some real issues. And so then the next thing you know, the powerful will demand honesty, and so where this peaceful was trying to avoid conflict, it causes a raising escalation. And so they'll even wonder, like, how is this happening? I'm just trying to tell them what they want to hear, or I'm trying to, say what I'm supposed to. And I don't understand why we're in conflict because I don't want conflict. So that's something for a peaceful personality to take into consideration. Some other reminders for peaceful personalities. Don't assume that you know what others are thinking about you. Be honest in your answers, realizing that hiding all of the information or some of the information, it can increase conflict. So instead of letting you avoid it, it can create the very thing you want to avoid. Don't con yourself into believing that a quiet demeanor makes you more peaceful when you refuse to take forward action. Intentional stubbornness is an aggressive act. That's why it's called passive aggressiveness. So, just putting a smile on your face and staying quiet, that's not good enough. I mean, if you are being resistant, then that is an aggressive act. And when you're pressured, speak up and tell the person you need to process their request in order to make a wise decision. It's okay to say to someone, hey, if you'll just give me a few minutes to think about that, I'll get back with you. Hey, I need to go look at a couple of pieces of information or gather some information, and then I'll speak into that. It's okay to say that. And so give yourself permission and give yourself the confidence to do that. It may be something you need to practice in front of a mirror, but you know what? With practice, some challenges for the peaceful personality: insecurity, procrastination, and again, being stubborn by nature. A peaceful personality's natural voice is soft and hesitant. So one, it can make you hard to hear. It also can give the sense that you are unsure or unprepared. So this can cause issues of misinterpretation when you interact with others personally or professionally, as people can perceive you as deceptive or less intelligent. So make sure that you speak, you project your voice, and you project with confidence so that you aren't misinterpreted, and make sure that you're speaking and enunciating clearly so you don't come across as a mumble. A peaceful personality can struggle under pressure. They can tend to feel overwhelmed or, as some accuse, indecisive, which creates fear-based mental paralysis. This can slow down progress if you freeze up when others show impatience or they give you too much information at one time. So it's okay to speak up if someone's being impatient and say, if you'll just give me a few minutes, I just told you that. Or to say, okay, can you break that down and give me some more digestible pieces to that? I'm just having a hard time processing so much all at once. It's okay. That makes you no less smarter than anybody else. As a matter of fact, I think it makes you a much smarter person to speak up and say that. I think it shows your intelligence and your wisdom that you are taking it step by step or piece by piece so that you don't overlook something important, or that you're not letting the emotions keep you from fully processing everything that you need for that situation. So be bold, be confident in a respectful way, and let people know what your needs are as well. As a peaceful, you can feel frustrated and or angry when others speak over you, when others ask you to quit mumbling, treat you as less valuable, or tell you what you are thinking. And I understand, just because peace is what you aspire to have more of in your life or aspire to be more like, it does not mean that you can't get angry, that you don't get angry. As a matter of fact, you have the danger of shoving emotions down and not being honest about how you feel. And so I always remind people that human beings are like volcanoes. And if you think of our emotions like magma, we shove emotions we're uncomfortable with down and we try not to deal with them. We try to avoid them, especially peaceful personalities. But as you continue to do that over time and years, you can only shove down as much as the last thing you put down there. Well, what happens, there is a natural rising effect, just like magma in a volcano. And if you don't have healthy, intentional venting of your emotions, of the pent-up things that you're holding in your soul, then what's going to happen is you're going to explode sometime. Sometimes at a very inopportune moment, sometimes on the wrong person, sometimes over something completely unrelated to all the things you're holding on to inside, sometimes simply because what's happening right now is triggering things that are rumbling around in your spirit. But healthy, intentional venting means that maybe we talk to someone who's safe. We find safe people. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's someone in some kind of a ministry. Maybe it's a counselor or a therapist. But we find safe people that we can express and get I call it getting the gunk out. I know it's not a scientific term, but I'm telling you it works. But getting the gunk out. What are the things that we've pushed down there that we've not vented, we've not worked through, we've not processed, that's unresolved? Peaceful personalities, of all the 4 types, you're the one most prone to have struggles with that because you want to be respectful of other people. You want to be kind. You don't want to be unkind to people. And so oftentimes you won't say what you really feel. But where that creates a danger is if you're never processing or you never feel like you have a voice to share what you're really feeling. So be intentional to find safe places to land, safe people that you can talk to and you can vent your feelings. Of all the personalities, the peaceful is most prone to conflict, actually creating what you hope to avoid, because when things are not comfortable, it can throw you into defensiveness. If you feel embarrassed, if you feel ashamed, if you feel insecure, if you lack confidence, if you feel like something's like triggering some sense of low self-esteem, any of those things can cause you to get defensive. Because see, for any personality. If you peel back the layers off of anger, which can come in the forms of irritation, frustration, defensiveness, those type of things too, there's always fear hiding there. So peacefuls especially need to really think about if they're becoming defensive, if they're becoming snappy, if they're becoming withdrawn, if they're starting to feel like they hate people. What's the fear? You need to ask, what's the fear hiding inside? What am I afraid of? If other people are getting impatient, if they're getting frustrated, irritated, lashing out at you, ask yourself, what might they be afraid of? It can really help us to not only be more understanding with each other, it can help diffuse a lot of conflict, but it also can help us be much, much more successful in our professional and our personal relationships. Well, let's talk about overcoming challenges for peaceful personalities. Become intentional about building your self-esteem. Whether or not anyone did this for you in your childhood, you can do it for you. Stop trying to figure out who others want you to be. Do you and be proud of your best self, that healthy version of you, the one that's magnifying and capitalizing on their strengths, the one who's working to overcome their weaknesses, who admits them, who fesses up when they mess up, but they continue to work to improve. They strive to solve problems and issues, but they don't stay stuck. Make it your mission to tell the truth about what you're feeling, what you're thinking, maybe what you have to contribute without over-explaining. When you feel aggravated with someone else, ask yourself this question: what might I not know or understand about the situation? And again, maybe it goes back to whatever their fears are. But we don't have to over-explain, and oftentimes peacefuls get caught in that trap, and what happens is it comes across as excuse making, and sometimes then that even like exacerbates or magnifies their frustration because they get accused of making excuses when in reality in their minds they're just trying to explain. But what they don't understand is they're over explaining, and it's when they get to that stage that's when it comes across as excuse making. So just remember, you don't have to keep repeating it. You don't have to keep trying to say it different ways or coming at it from different angles. Speak your truth, speak it once unless someone's asking you for more information, and then release it, let it go. Something else that can help a peaceful personality overcome challenges is to work on projecting bold conviction to your tone of voice when you're on the phone, speaking in person, even in texts, emails, or other written communication. Because when you come across with confidence, it increases the amount of confidence others have in you. And oftentimes that is an ongoing struggle and an ongoing, frustration. It's the word that just keeps coming to me for a peaceful personality, because others don't have confidence, but sometimes it's because you don't sound confident yourself. And remember, when struggling to avoid conflict, remind yourself that sometimes it's appropriate to say, this may not be what you want to hear, but it is the truth. And make a focus on gratitude and believing the best of people and situations a daily habit. Instead of concentrating on vain imaginations, worrying about what people might think or what others did to you previously, ponder why people like you, why they want to make good responses, and dare to consider great outcomes. One of my favorite things is the knowledge that what we envision, what we imagine, most often becomes reality. So if we have expectations of negative or painful outcomes, most often that's what we get. But when we are intentional to envision and imagine positive, healthy, great results, then that's usually what occurs. Peaceful personality talents, one of my favorites. Peacefuls are moderated, they are considerate, and they are watchful by nature. They catch so many good pieces of information that so many other personalities completely miss. A peaceful personality's natural thirst for harmony draws them to become what is needed in any given situation for any necessary people. So again, that adaptability, like where some personalities are just pretty much incapable of adapting, or if they do adapt, they have to exert so much energy. Not a peaceful personality. It's something that they just are able to do almost without thinking. And that's a talent. Often, peacefuls will sacrifice their own opinions or interests for the greater good. Their inner desire to ensure peaceful environments can save energy, time, and money by swiftly mediating resolutions. And they want to be helpful. Peacefuls' chameleon-like nature also helps them shift approaches when others need assistance, inspiration, or a listening ear. And of all the personality types, peacefuls most often provide a voice of composure for others because they do seek balance. They consider diverse ideas, and they do remind people we are all in this together. And they are right about that. So, best job fits for the peaceful personality. Peaceful personalities make great accountants, carpenters, chefs, provide childcare. They often make great counselors, provide exceptional customer service, electricians, engineers, librarians, painters, programmers, researchers, veterinarians, and writers. And, as an aside, another one is great actors. Now that may seem like a conflicting thing to say, but let me tell you why. Even though they are introverted by nature, that adaptability, that chameleon-like aspect of their personality, it allows them to wear personas sometimes. And so they can naturally act well and be very convincing. Some of the greatest actors and actresses of our times have been peaceful personalities, even though they may project popular, powerful, or perfect. Well, I've concluded going in depth with each of the personalities and individually. So last week I focused on the extroverts, the popular powerfuls. This week, the perfect and peaceful introverts. And so I want you to really think about this and how can you use this information to be more understanding of others, to be more accepting of them, and also to be more understanding and accepting of yourself. How this can help you show them more grace, help you show yourself more grace. And remember, again, we all have strengths and weaknesses, but we are all made to make a difference in the world. Whatever your personality is, you were created on purpose, with an abundant purpose, so you could fulfill that purpose. It's up to you whether or not you follow through. It's up to you whether or not you allow yourself to be free to be me. It's up to you whether you celebrate the differences between yourself and others and see how you can collaborate, how you can cooperate for the greater good, bringing all of your gifts and talents and skills and abilities together and strengthening the outcomes. Only you can choose to do that for yourself or not. But if you do, not only will others benefit from what you have to offer, from your willingness as well as your ability, but you will benefit too. And as always, regardless of what your personality is, and we'll talk about more in-depth personality information the next time. But until then, I just want you to remember, every day is a choice. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Exceptional Leadership Podcast. There's magic in meeting with an objective, and I always have an objective for you, not only in these episodes, but also from the other resources I offer on my website, AnitaBrooks.com. That's AnitaBrooks.com. There you'll find information on digital courses, webinars, books, workbooks, of course, my in-person P4 Power Coaching for businesses and organizations. And if you need a speaker for your conference or your strategic retreat, I'm your gal. But I'm also excited to let you know about a new service that we're offering. For less than half the price of a daily Starbucks latte for a month, you can join our P4 Power Coaching community. This is a monthly membership where you'll get insider tips, and you'll also be able to join our monthly Zoom meetings that are one part strategy sessions, one part mastermind, one part networking, one part coaching. I can promise you, you'll not only learn from me, but you'll learn from others in the group. We'll also have monthly webinars as part of the P4 Power Coaching community, and we'll have coaching resources and exercises. And you'll get first opportunities and special offers for many of the other things that we have to offer. And of course, you will get leadership encouragements. The P4 Power Coaching community is all about growth, success, and celebrating our wins. And remember, it's never too late for a fresh start with fresh faith. So embrace your exceptional leadership impact with fresh resolve to make the difference you were made for.